Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Today, we're going to be revisiting the topic of flying while fat, and look at some of the various problems that you might encounter. The clips that we're going to be looking at are from Prof. Brain Fever, the guy that asks that one question, fellow fat people, what are some things that you do that you're pretty sure really piss off thin people? From the Triggered Thins Tuesdays series. Before we proceed, let us first apply comb to mustache.
Hey, non-fat people, have you ever considered what it would be like traveling in an airplane as a fat person?
No, I have not considered that. Have you considered what it would be like to go skydiving as a Japanese man?
If you haven't, think about it now.
Well, as someone that's being overweight myself, I can tell you that every single activity was uncomfortable when I was overweight, and I didn't fit into places that I should have. I can imagine that being morbidly obese would be even more uncomfortable. And it's funny, he's all like, have you ever considered what it's like to be morbidly obese on a plane? Yeah, I've considered it, man, but I do everything within my power to avoid it. I also don't want a bunch of giant buff dudes to force themselves on me, so I try not to do things that would wind me up in prison.
Do you think fat people like traveling by air?
Bruh.
I suppose you don't like it, but you don't dislike it enough to do something about it? I'm not sure why you're telling me. Hey, people that choose to drink all the time, do you ever get tired of people telling you shouldn't drive? Or harshen your buzz by taking you to jail for public intoxication?
Do you think we like cramming ourselves into these tiny seats that many non-fat people find constraining and hard to fit into?
I'm sure you dislike every aspect of this. So it's confusing to me why you're telling me about it instead of looking at yourself and being like, yo, what should I do to change this situation?
Do you think we enjoy asking someone for the seatbelt extender because it's not long enough to go around us?
Well, you must enjoy it because you keep doing it. So are you telling me that you're insane? Because the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. You keep going on the plane as an obese person and then being shocked when they're like, here's the seatbelt extender, the thing that you need to put on your body so you don't go flying around in the cabin. Personally, I disliked a lot of the things that came with being overweight. So when I did lose weight, I decided I better keep this off. And for some of us, we didn't even know that we were overweight until we lost the weight. Because you just get so used to looking at yourself in the mirror, right? You just keep gradually getting bigger and bigger. You don't even know what you look like until you lose the weight. And you're like, oh my God, I was obese. Everyone around you's like, yeah, homie, we've been telling you for years. I'm like, shut up. You guys were just being fat phobic. Now that I see it with my own eyes, it's valid. I was fat.
Do you think we like having the arms of the seats dig into our sides for hour-long flights? As uncomfortable as you, a non-fat person, might feel sitting on an airplane, and as uncomfortable as you, as a non-fat person, sitting on an airplane next to a fat person might feel, I'd like you to try to extend your empathy and consider what it must be like for the actual fat person flying because they have to.
Bruh.
What about the thin person who's sitting next to them? And that thin person is only occupying their own seat, which they paid for, and then a larger person sitting next to them is actually all up in their seat and their personal area, and there's nothing that they can do about it. I tend to feel more sympathy for people who were put in a situation that they had no control over. If you get drunk and crash your car, I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for you. You did that to yourself. But if you get run into by a drunk driver, oh dude, that sucks. I feel really bad for you. The same is true here. A thin person is not the one who made themselves larger than the seat, so now they're spilling into neighboring territory. You want us to feel sympathy for the person who is encroaching on someone else's space, against that person's will.
Because we all occasionally have to fly.
You should purchase the accommodations that you can afford for your body type. It's like this old episode of The Simpsons where there's this super tall guy, and he's in this very small car, and Nelson is laughing at him. He's like, ha ha. And then he says to Nelson, he's like, what are you laughing at? This is the largest size car that I could afford. Either way, if you can't afford a seat that accommodates your entire frame, you shouldn't be flying. Take a means of travel that you can afford. It's like when you see a morbidly obese dude on a motorcycle. You're like, what are you doing, bro? Why are you doing this? You feel bad for the motorcycle as if it's a living thing. You're like, oh, that poor Harley.
Now, the person who left this comment doesn't have empathy. At least.
Alright, the comment says, y'all love taking up space on planes and making everyone else uncomfortable just because you can't take care of yourselves. Hey, I ain't saying that he's right, but I ain't saying that he's wrong.
At least not for fat people, but I would encourage you to stop and consider.
I would encourage you to stop and consider. Imagine you spent your whole life taking care of your body just specifically so you could fit inside the infrastructure that we have in place in our society. Planes, elevators, stairs, all that type of stuff. You have been keeping yourself in shape just so you can take advantage of all the amenities that society has to offer. And then somebody who hasn't taken care of themselves at all comes by and plops down into your space, a space that you paid for. You paid an equal price for your seat as they paid for theirs, and yet they are spilling over into your seat, occupying some of it, and part of them is actually on top of you, and you are carrying it. So now the ramifications of your life decisions are starting to be a burden on somebody else. Somebody else is literally carrying around your weight. And this is fine with you.
When you get on an airplane and you see a fat person, instead of getting mad at the fat person for taking up so much room on the plane, maybe get angry at the people who designed the plane that way.
Bro, in order for the seats to accommodate morbidly obese person, all the seats would have to be 2 or 3 times bigger than they are. I agree that airlines are greedy and they try to cram you in there as tight as possible to make the most profit. But I also agree that making profit isn't a bad thing, and that's what keeps society going. If they couldn't turn a profit, they would go out of business. If everybody got triple-sized seats, they could fit 1/3 of the people on an airplane. If we all had couches like this on the plane, it would fit a lot less people, and the prices of the ticket would go through the roof. I don't know why people are shocked at the concept of capitalism. It's how this country works, you know. Do you ever wonder why when you go into a neighborhood, you see like 10 houses all crammed into the space of 1 acre? Technically, there should be 1 house there, and the acre should be your yard. But somebody's taken the liberty of cramming 10 of them in there. You know why? Because you can make a lot of money. If I buy an acre and I can cram 10 houses in there, now I can make a lot more money. Common sense, baby. If it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. Wake up.
Just something to consider.
Right, don't look at me like the things that you're doing are my fault or my problem. Man, I really care now. Psych! Alright, let's take a look at the next clip. Alright, he's replying to this comment that says, but complaining about stuff like this and complaining about having to buy 2 tickets is totally your own fault. Coming from a person who lost a lot of... Sorry, that was... I swear I'm trying to be Jason Statham, dude. Alright, so... But complaining about stuff like this and complaining about having to buy 2 tickets is totally your own fault. Coming from a person who lost a lot of ham, a lot of clouds, the color red. Wait? No, it couldn't be that one. That last one is stupid.
Complaining about having to buy 2 plane tickets is totally your own fault. What have the airline CEOs got on you?
What? What? You're implying that the CEOs have blackmail on this guy and that's why he's towing the company line? Yeah, why are you sticking up for the airlines? What have they got on you? What took place on a Delta Airlines flight 221 several years ago that we will never speak about again? What a silly ass take though. The guy's all like, yo, you being too big for the seat is your own problem. Stop trying to make it my problem. And then your response is, what have they got on you? Man, their brainwashing got to you too, huh? Big Airlines, at it again. Hanging out with Big Diet is what they must have been doing, fuckers. Next thing you know, Big Diet and Big Airline are going to start colluding. And then the food they serve on airplanes is only going to be tiny little bags of peanuts.
Is my question. What have they done that have you so enthralled that you view their systematically shrinking of...
Yeah, what have they got on you, bro? Why are you riding the coattails of Big Air? I remember when you used to be real, man. You've changed. You just don't get it, do you? Do a search on YouTube for "You Just Don't Get It, Do You?" And you'll see that line used in a bunch of old movies because for some reason it's a very common movie trope. Look it up. You've changed, man. You're just not the same ever since you got with Tiffany. Tiffany's the only one who ever loved me. That's a goddamn lie. You know we all loved you. Feelings. Give me back my son! Yeah, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell!
Airline seats so that they can make more and more and more profits is the fault of fat people.
No, he's just saying, yo, if you can't fit in the seat, buy a second one, homie. If you don't fit in the seat, you buy a second one, not me.
How do we get there?
So he's saying, if you're mad at me for not fitting into the seat, take it up with Delta, dude. Tell them to make bigger seats, dog. And where do we draw the line? Like I've said before, how big are we going to make these seats? If the seats are big enough to accommodate somebody who's 400 pounds, what about all the people that are 600 pounds? They're going to come up and be like, yo, what about us, man? You made seats that accommodate these other people. Why is there no love for people that are 600 pounds? And then it just keeps escalating until the next thing you know, there's no seats at all. It's just a big open floor plan. And we're all tethered to each other so we don't roll around too much. We've got time for one more, and this is the hottest take of all.
Hey, thin people, I just wanted to let you know, if you're really, really concerned about sitting next to a fat person on an airplane, you can always buy yourself an extra seat.
Alright, he's just trying to get clout now. This is a purposely bad take, I'm convinced. Hey, thin people, if you're sick of fat people being all up in your space, spend more money. Even though we're the one that's in your space. If you're sick of me rear-ending you when we're driving, go faster. I would say that he's just trolling with that last one, if we didn't just see those two other clips where he said pretty much the same thing. If you're thin and you don't like overweight people spilling over into your personal space, buy another seat. I have an even better idea. Instead of the thin person buying an extra seat, just wear a porcupine suit. You know, if anybody doesn't want to get stabbed with a bunch of quills, they'll just stay off of you, right? You're just defending yourself. This is my personal area. If anybody spills into it and gets stabbed by these series of porcupine quills, then that is their own fault. You just go around wearing spike collars all over your whole body, dude. If you need to buy another seat to accommodate all of you, then you go ahead and do that. That's not my problem. But if part of you wants to spill over into my seat, just know I'm going to be wearing my suit made of porcupine quills every time I fly. Anyway, that about does it. Thanks for watching, commenting, liking, and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.